Back in open session. First item on the agenda is a motion to approve minutes of the executive session held on July. No, I'm sorry, wrong part. Back in open session, a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session held on August 19th, 2025. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Peterson, is there a second? Second. Second, Commissioner Callahan. Yes. Second by Commissioner Callahan. A roll call vote. Commissioner Strauss.
Aye.
Commissioner Callahan.
Aye.
Centerini.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The next item, get to have the pleasure of reporting on the actions taken in executive session. In the executive session, the commission approved the minutes of the executive session held on July 29, 2025 by a vote of 5 to nothing with 1 abstention. The commission reviewed a proposed informal resolution and settlement in the matter of In re Robert L. Lombardo, complaint numbers 2025-3 and 2025-5. In this matter, the commission voted 6-0 to approve a proposed informal resolution and settlement. The executive director will advise as to when copies of the settlement document will be available. The commission conducted an initial determination hearing in the matter of In re Jeffrey McCormick, complaint number 2025-6. In this matter, the commission voted 6-0 to find that the complaint states facts that, if true, are sufficient to constitute violations of the Code of Ethics and to authorize a full investigation. I want to make note, as we always do, that an initial determination is a preliminary vote that should not be construed as an opinion regarding the truth of the facts alleged in a complaint, but merely is a vote to conduct an investigation into the allegations raised. And then finally, the commission voted 6-0 to return to open session. Now, the next item on the agenda is new business proposed for future commission agendas and general comments from the commission. We had, at least during one of the discussions, somebody suggested we might have to have some general comments.
So if I may, Mr. Chairman, and I would yield to your discretion on this, there are 2 issues that perhaps are worthy of discussion, but I'm recognizing our timing and things like that, but I'm trying to absorb Commissioner Centerini's thoughts relative to language of our advisory opinions. And so I don't know if there's an opportunity, or we would maybe perhaps recommend to the staff sort of some feedback as to whether there does need to be boilerplated language that is clear about what the precise effectiveness of the advisory opinion is. And I say that again as a layperson, trying to get a feel for, may. I understand what may is, and I understand what shall is. And I come from a business where that is actually really important. And but Commissioner Centerini's point's well taken, and if we need to clarify that, I guess I'm taking a long way to get there. It seemed like in the example that we were using for our windows in East Greenwich here, that could apply in a lot of different cases. And I thought we spent some time on that particular case when it was maybe a more general application, number one. Then the second issue is not an issue. A thought relative to how perhaps we as a body, or how we ask the staff to look into the revolving door policy, or this concept of, in Rep. Knight's example of a government employee potentially profiting, and this idea of private contractor, where we might look at the regulations and perhaps make some updated suggestions if we think that they are necessary. The example that I'm thinking of is, while it does make sense that a person who had a position, and I'm using Rep. Knight's as an example here, but it is not his specific. But had a position on a particular list in 2016, prior to an election. And then you have a voluntary withdrawal. And then, you're still in an elected capacity, there's been no change. You could have theoretically stayed on that list that whole time, and then you voluntarily try to come back up onto that list. And then the prohibition, again, respecting Mr. Radish's presentation, that prohibition applies. So I don't know how to go about, or whether it is worthy to go about trying to workshop some of these issues, and I'm not sure the proper forum for that. I'll pause.
Let me suggest that on the second point, I think we should let them write that new opinion so we can see how they address that problem. On the first point, I don't know, do we have a method for having a discussion like that
Yeah,
in either an open meeting or an executive session?
well, I have a thought and a suggestion on the first issue in terms of, so that Judge Centerini's, Commissioner Centerini's point, I understood and was well made, the idea of that advisory opinions are just guidance. And so we want to be careful not to overstate what someone has to do, because of course they can feel free to disregard our opinion. On the other hand, Judge Ritchie, at the risk of sounding like I'm guessing everybody, I did appreciate Judge Ritchie's point also, which is we want to make sure people know what they have to do in order to have that protection also, right? That's very important. So I have a suggestion as to how to get there. I will say that in the Schwager opinion, that is a little bit different because it was us granting a hardship. What the statute says is the commission may grant a hardship, but the person getting a hardship shall do the following things. So that language about you shall do this, you shall do this, he does have to do that in order for the hardship, but that's getting a little bit.
Perhaps want to cite that next time at that point.
Right, so we could have been a little bit clearer about that in that particular opinion, but I do agree, and what I would ask is for the staff, we sit down after the meetings, we talk about the feedback we got from the commission. I do think that we could make some changes to our advisory opinions, maybe by adding something to the boilerplate to clarify that, what an advisory opinion is, and that that you're protected insofar as you follow the advice that's in the advisory opinion, but if you don't want to be protected, then don't follow the advice. It's not a violation of the code to not follow the advice. So we may be able to come up with a sentence or two to add to our opinions that clarifies that. And if you give us a chance to maybe try that for the next meeting and the next advisory opinions, and we'll get some more feedback from you, and that might handle it. And if not, I'm sure Judge Centerini is going to let us know that it didn't quite address the concern he had.
That's what I was suggesting for point 2, so I think probably unless commissioners feel otherwise, I think what Jason is suggesting is we let them try to give us opinions which meet what we've talked about, and then if we find that they're still not getting there, we'll find that out in the discussion of the advisory opinions. And then maybe if we're still not on the same page, then maybe we figure out a way to put it as an agenda item. Does that work for everybody?
Makes sense.
General consensus on that? Yes. Any other new business? Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Commissioner Ritchie, seconded by Commissioner Callahan. Roll call vote. Commissioner Strauss.
Aye.
Commissioner Callahan. Aye. Commissioner Centerini. Aye. Commissioner Peterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritchie. Aye. Chair votes aye. Thank you all.
Yeah, I mean.
Very good.